Hey guys, it's Anadia from Canvas Tutorials, and today I'm going to be going through how to make kind of more of a modern layout in Gimp. I've had several users request that I make a tutorial on how to use Gimp to make layouts, and I haven't really got around to it, and today kind of like I got another request, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Once you open Gimp, you should have the layers, channels, paths, undo, blah 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 menu, which it has your brushes, it's got your patterns, it's got gradients. The other one should be your toolbox. You should have all your tools up here and a whole bunch of other stuff depending on what you have clicked on. If you haven't played around with Gimp, my suggestion would be to like pause this and like, you know, get the paintbrush tool and see what that does, and you know, do all that stuff and figure out where's what, and ooh, look what I can do with this. So it'd be a good idea if you like kind of paused or stopped the video, you know, turn on some music and play with Gimp, or you know, stuff like that. What I'm going to be showing you today is the selection tool. Since we do use that in other tutorials, I'm going to show you how to use that. I'm going to show you some stuff about layers and gradients, and we're going to build a layout together. I'm going to try not to make this such a lengthy video, but I do apologize it runs over 10 minutes. I'm going to give you the lowdown, I'm going to draw a layout, and I'm going to kind of talk about how I'm doing it. I dominantly use Photoshop, as you can see down here. I have run the trial version, and I have the purchase version, which it's really a good investment. If you're a student at a university or a high school, even perhaps, you may be able to get, you may be qualified for a discount. For Photoshop, just Photoshop, I don't really have a price estimate. I can only give it to you in USD if I could, because I am from the United States. But if you go on the Adobe.com website and you look at their products, you should work something out. It's a really good investment. It has a lot of features that Gimp doesn't have, but Gimp is free, so okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to make a basic layout with tabs. If you're making a basic div homepage, you don't need tabs. You just need a main box and just boxes. If you want one with tabs that you can change, you know, it goes from home to about to friends to love to support, whatever, then that's what we're going to do. First things first, you're going to have layers, okay? It'll look like white sheets of paper. You're going to click this little white thing over here. It's like a little page. Create a new layer and add it to the image. But just click OK, don't worry about it. If you've never done a layout before, always make sure your width, like when you press Control N to make a new one, or you can go to File New, make sure your width is 900. That's the standard size for an IMView homepage. If you're actually making like a website or something, this doesn't really apply. And you know, if you're making like a custom size for a product page, then this doesn't apply either. But for this tutorial, the width needs to be 900. The height can be whatever you want it to be. I'm going to use 700. You can follow along. There'll be no like tester because we're making one. But anyway, so looking at the toolbox, it doesn't have to be set up like mine is. But looking at the toolbox, the upper left-hand icon is the rectangle select tool. Select a rectangular region. We're going to kind of go through what each box does, and I'm going to try to make a layout with all the types of boxes. You can also use circles and ellipses, which is the next one over, but for the most part you're going to be using boxes. Okay, what's really popular with the IMView crowd is rounded corners, like this. And let me get a fill color up in here. There we go. What's really popular is the rounded corners. People really seem to enjoy that. I'm not quite sure why, but I do enjoy it myself, so I can't say much. Down here you'll have a 4 arrow little tool. That's your move tool. So if at any time you need to move, like you want to center it because you're OCD like me, then there you go. You do not have to rename the layers, but every time you want to add an element, so let's say that we want to add another box, you need to put it on a new layer. If you do not put it on a new layer, it's going to be hell. Pardon my language. It's going to literally be hell if you do not put that in there. So, best advice, go ahead and put it in there. So we've got feathered edges, which this one's going to be hilarious. Feathered edges, you're going to have kind of like a feathery kind of effect. You'll see it here in a minute. I'm using the bucket tool. It's like the fill tool in Paint, if you've ever played on Paint. The feather tool kind of gives you more of a blurred edge. This can also be achieved by using other tools, but that's what that one does. So let's see. Every time you make a new layer, it's going to ask you about it. I've never been able to figure out how you turn them off, but I kind of stopped using this after a while, so I apologize. I'm going to go ahead and make another, actually I'm going to just make a regular rectangle. I'm sorry guys, I can't talk. I'm going to make a regular rectangle and fill it black as well. I'm going to take my move tool and I'm going to move it up. I'm using my directional arrows down underneath the shift key. If you have, I guess a keyboard like mine, that's how that works. We're going to make a new layer again. Like I said, you don't have to follow along. This is just kind of a tutorial to do. Anyway, so I want you guys to draw out a box, just a random box. I don't care what size. If you're going to be going on to doing the iframe or dynamic div, and you're going to have to map and measure, this will come into play. But down here, you'll see position and size. Don't worry so much about the position, because it's only relevant when you're actually measuring the layouts to go on the web. Otherwise, you're going to want to go to the size. So let's say we want an avatar picture. An avatar picture in IMView is 160 by 220. 160 is the width, 220 is the height, and that's the order it goes in: width, height, and then position we'll talk about in a different video. So I want to put my avatar picture on here. My best advice to you is to fill it with a different color. You can go ahead and put your picture on it if you really feel like it's necessary, but for me, I just go ahead and I just fill it with a solid color so I know, you know, what I'm working with at all times. You will, here, let me undo that. You'll have a selection, and let's say you want to try to paint out here. It's not going to work because you're selected. If you do Control-Shift-A, it'll take away your selection. Otherwise, you can go up to Select and then click on None. So, we're going to make a holder for our avatar picture with the same rectangle tool, but I'm going to use rounded corners, and we're going to use a gradient this time. Gradients are really easy. If you guys have seen my Photoshop video on this channel, it's somewhat the same concept, except there's no Photoshop styles in Gimp, so we'll have to resort to using gradients, which is fine, but to make a straight gradient, hold down the shift key, click, drag up, and you made a gradient. Now, I kind of want more of a, I kind of want more of a dark one, so it'll look kind of like that. To put a stroke on things, you'll have to forgive me, because as I'm sitting here making this, I have to try to remember how to do everything. And I haven't used Gimp in a very long time, so I do apologize. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. So, enough of that. So, let's see. I'm going to put a gradient out of the library. You'll have a patterns library and a gradient library. I'm going to use a gradient out of the library. get your fill bucket and go down to, oh well, snap. Okay. Apparently you can only fill it with pattern, so let's fill it with pattern. There'll be plenty in your library to go ahead and use, but you can fill the whole thing with this. I'm gonna make it kind of weird. That's okay. But patterns over here, gradients are over here. You can make your own gradient. You can edit the gradient. That's other stuff. You can go look up Gimp tutorials and you'll find it. To move 2 layers, or to merge 2 layers, so let's say we want all these 3 to be on the same layer. Oh, okay, or it's going to be a butt head. I'm sorry guys, I don't know. I don't remember how to do all this. Right click on the layer and you're going to click merge down. Right click merge down again. And now everything's on 1 layer. So if you click on the eyeball, it hides it from you. So if you're editing like avatar art, for example, you can hide certain layers of like hair or the clothing that you built, and you can edit something else like on the skin. Otherwise, merging. If you're going to be doing a layout shop and you're not just doing one for yourself, I highly recommend and suggest that you use layers. Like, don't merge them all together, because it's going to be a pain in the butt later on to try to piece it back together. And trust me, I've done it, and I've merged them all together, and then I saved it as a PNG file, which is a web file. That's what we typically use, at least with Canvas. And I had to go back and redraw the gradient, redraw every element, clone in patterns, and it was a mess. So always both save your file as a Gimp file, which is an XCF, I believe, and also please make sure you have layers. So I'm gonna actually control undo all that so that I have all that done. We're gonna go to your undo history. This is kind of something I learned about in Photoshop. This is your history palette. It'll show you everything that you've had or you've started. I'm not really sure about how far back in history it goes. But like, if you want to go all the way back to when we just had the rectangle selected, or we made a rounded rectangle first time, then double click it, and then you can go from there, and you can build off of what we had. Or if you want to go, like, once you double click off of it, it'll save it like that. So if you want to go, like, you'd be like, oh god, no, I actually really wanted it to be like this, then you can't, because once you've gone back and you've double clicked, you can't get off that. So, I'm gonna go ahead and actually kind of make a flat layout. Go back to my layer palette here. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of make a little bit of this, that, and the other. YouTube videos work. There we go. That's how you use gradients. Click on the gradient you want and do the gradient tool. I'm actually going to use this one. But, anyhow. But it's, if you want to YouTube, it's, to actually have the video play is 300 by 200. So like when you go down in the rectangle, it'll do one. If you want to make one that actually like fits in the box, and you can do it that way, it'll be 300 by 200. It makes it easier when you go to code. Make sure your rounded corners off. Draw out the box and then put in 300 by 200. And drag it over your box. Mine's actually going to have some links. So, I'm going to fill it black for my player, and that's where my player is going to go. Control Shift A. But as you go, you can make your own layout. I'm going to really quickly go over some tabs. Usually I do rounded corners for the tabs to make like a legit tab. Tabs are just like little places where they're just basically a place where you can have my home, my loves, my whatever, and that's where you put those. So click your move tool, right click on that layer and duplicate the layer, and then you can hold down the control key and it will keep it perfectly aligned. And then you can pull off tabs and you can put text on it that says home or about, and then we'll go into the coding process once we get there. But that's kind of, I'm going to wrap up the video. I'm probably going to make a speed drawing of a layout, and yeah. Just to give you guys a heads up, myself and Plop are going to be hosting a Join.me-a-palooza in March. I think it's on March 7th. It's going to be more of an all-day event where we're going to be giving out some stuff, giving out layouts, discounts, and all this other stuff, and it's going to be a really fun time. If you guys have any questions, please make sure to either send us an email or go to our forums, tweet us, Facebook us, anything you can imagine, get a hold of us. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. It's been such a pleasure. So I hope you guys understand how to draw.